episode number 30 in Creative Love Radio, a juicy one. It's all about breakups or that unrequited love, pining for someone that you can't have. Are you stuck in your relationship past? Are you a prisoner of the past? How to let go and move on so you can find real love. So it's going to be a great conversation. Let's get going. Welcome to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. We are redefining relationships to guide you to greater love, more success, and living your purpose through the latest research in neuroscience, Jungian psychology, and Eastern wisdom. Get ready for another inspirational episode of Creative Love Radio. All right, Dr. Rob, are you a prisoner of your relationship past?
I definitely hope not.
I hope not, because I'm your relationship president. Before we get started today, I want to invite you to join us for our 3-video series on how to live your full love potential. All you need to do is go to attractgreatlove.com and sign up. It's absolutely free. Some great information and a free visualization for you about physical attraction. So don't miss it, attractgreatlove.com. And we also have a great event coming up in New York City called Creative Love Live. If you like our podcast and you want to meet us in person, it's a very small, intimate event in a loft that we have in Soho. When we're renting out. And it's going to be a really uplifting, inspirational, transformational weekend.
It's where we started.
Yes. And we are going to do some really cool things that we've never done before in events. So if you've been to other events of ours, you're in for a treat. And tickets are highly, highly limited. We will probably sell out very soon. So please go to our website or contact us and let us know that you're interested. And lastly, before we begin, come to meet us on our Facebook group, Creative Love Community, where you can interact with us, ask us questions, tell us what you think about the show, and also let us know what you want to hear. What other topics you want us to discuss?
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's dive in, Dr. Rob. I think I've been a prisoner of the past in relationships before. I think everyone has.
It's certainly
one time in their life.
It's going around.
It's going around. It's like the flu.
Right, because it's very easy to fall into that trap. Our mind seems to be designed for that kind of situation. So if we look at the neurocircuitry of the brain and our emotions and the way they operate, we know there's a very strong connection between memory and what we store in our memory and emotions. Meaning any experience that we have that has a strong emotional charge is going to get really in there in the brain, in the circuitry, and persist for a long time. So relationships, they're like one of the primary things that we feel. We feel very powerful, strong emotions in relationships, and so most of us really hone in on that feeling, and our brain, our mind absorbs that and keeps it for a long time.
So even just faces, when you see certain people, they evoke an emotion like, you see your mom or your grandmother, you have a different emotion, or your father, or you think of someone, a friend, you have an emotion, and then you see your ex, and then you have a different emotion. Either it's heartache, or it's, I remember when I loved him. It's like that sweet sorrow. So that's how we basically associate with people, is through emotion.
Absolutely. And then there's a little bit of a O.C.D. component in relationships and the way we think about them. Because they do give us that little adrenaline or dopamine charge or whatever neurotransmitter is being released when we think about the past, or especially a great relationship. When we think about it, it takes us back a little bit. So it's like a little high that we get. And so in neuropsychology, we call that reverberating circuits. Ooh. So these reverberating circuits, they run on a loop. Mm-hmm. They're set up already, and they're triggered easily through a song. You hear a song, and it takes it back. That kind of feeling. Smell, some association that you didn't even know or not even aware of. It's running unconsciously. Will trigger that circuit, and it'll rerun again. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of set up for that nostalgic kind of approach to our past. And so when there's strong emotions in a relationship and we've experienced powerful things with individuals, it's very easy to get stuck there. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to get rid of those emotions, but we want to know what's going on so that we can move on. Because, we've seen, all of us have seen, I'm sure, people that are stuck in the past, mm-hmm. right? All their orientation to right now is about the past. Mm-hmm. What happened in the past?
Most people are. I mean, we all think that way. We very rarely think of the future. We're mostly thinking of what we did wrong in the past. How do we fit? And not really happy with where we are right now. But we tend to look backwards versus forwards.
Right, but there are individuals who really fall into that pit. And they never move on, right? They kind of give up after that relationship ends, and it falls apart. And they go into a cloister. Basically, mm-hmm. They go into a nunnery. They just shut the door on life and say, "I'm not going to try anymore. What's the point?" Right? I want to look back. I want to go back to that experience in the past. And anything else just seems not intense enough, not mm-hmm. beautiful enough, not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Also, too, you don't even have to have a relationship with a person. You could be interested in someone, and they're not interested in you, and you have all these feelings for them, and then you still can't let it go. And you think one day they're going to change their mind. Like a good friend that you decide, you tell them you're interested, and they're like, nah, I kind of think of us more as friends, but you really can't move on. You can't let go. So that's another way. It doesn't have to be a full-out blown relationship heartbreak for you to be stuck on the past. And, a lot of people, when we look backwards too, we over-exaggerate how great it was. How great that relationship could have been, or how great that possibility could be with that person, because of maybe they looked good on paper and they lined up in a certain way, and then we're going out dating, comparing everyone to that idolizing person, right?
Yeah, we do tend to have a selective memory. Either one way or the other, right? We either focus on the good stuff or the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Depending on how it ended and all that. But if we think about this as a propensity in our mind already to go there, right, to stay stuck in the past, we really have to be careful and really consider, what am I doing with that past history of mine? Am I, keeping it away, but unconsciously, is it still programmed into my mind where it's stopping me from moving on mm-hmm. and having new relationships, being open to new relationships, because it will stop you. Essentially, it closes your heart to where you're not open to new possibilities anymore. Mm-hmm. Unconsciously, even if you're not aware of it, you will be locked looking towards that past golden age, right, mm-hmm. when everything was beautiful.
And so this is so deep for all of us. I mean, every single person probably has an experience, if not more than one, in their lifetime of this type of love that they wish they could have had, or the person that didn't work out,
the one that got away,
and in popular culture, there are so many movies that talk about this, and the funniest ones are Something About Mary, where he thinks this girl in high school was the prettiest girl, and he was the nerd. And what was it, like 20 years later, or I don't know how many years went by, and he's still thinking about, maybe it was 10 years later, still, obsessed with Mary, I'm sure you've all seen the movie where all the chaos that ensues with him trying to pursue that old love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great story, and certainly one that most of us can relate to. that first experiences are very powerful, right? That first kiss, that romantic infatuation, it leaves a powerful imprint in our mind. And then we tend to pine for that. I want to go back. I want to experience that. And in the movie, it's really done well. I mean, that's why it was so popular, because he sees all these other guys are also infatuated with this woman because of her beauty and her charm and all that. But they're not really looking at the real person.
And he really knows who she is. Like he's...
Well... in the beginning, he's like the other guys, right? He's infatuated with the beauty and the romance, but not really considering what would make her happy.
Yeah, it was all about him.
Yeah. And then in the movie, the resolution comes when he realizes, oh, she's a person. I need to put her in front of my needs, right? If it's about me, that's not love. That's infatuation. That's projection. But if I put her needs as a person above mine, that's love, right? That's putting somebody else in front of you.
And when he did that, he got the girl in the end.
Right. And everybody lived happily ever after.
Except the guys who fell in the water at the end. And then Sideways 2 is another one where our... Paul, that I can't remember his name. He was drinking. He was upset over his divorce and just couldn't let go of his ex-wife. And, just that whole idea of his life was falling apart because he couldn't get his book published. And this woman left him, and just sad. And
right. The story hinges on two friends who go away for a weekend to the wine country. I think the other friend is about to get married, so it's his last weekend as a free man. And
he takes advantage of it.
And throughout the movie, you see the main character pining for his ex-wife and kind of bitter about the fact that she's now in a new relationship. And of course, they're drinking wine, and he's reminiscent, and he dials her when he's, a little bit.
Drunk dialing.
Yeah, drunk dialing. Gratefully, he comes to a resolution and comes to terms with the fact that his wife or his ex-wife has moved on and is in a new relationship. And he sees this new opportunity for himself that he needs to let go. So in the end, you see him attending his ex-wife's wedding.
Or it was his friend's wedding, and the ex-wife was there with her
husband.
Right. And he said, she said she was pregnant.
That's right.
And he was it was bittersweet, but he
wishes them well and kind of comes to terms with it and moves on. And that takes us to really what this call is about, which is closure. Closure is very powerful. It is so powerful because what's happening in people that have that O.C.D. about their past, about their exes, is that they haven't reached closure.
They're still in the past, and they can't create anything new.
Right. They're still trying to resuscitate the past, which is long gone.
And hold on to old bitterness and see things and analyze things. I think a lot of times, too, people say, well, I should have done things differently. If I would have acted this way, they wouldn't have left. Or if I was a better person, or if I was more patient, or if I had lost weight, or if I was more fun, if I didn't put so much pressure on them, all those things that we think about if we did something differently, they would love us more.
Right. And there is no one way to do closure, but the concept is powerful enough and coherent enough for you to consider. If you and look at your relationship past, think about where are the loose ends in your past. Now, we can't always go back and talk to people because obviously they've moved on, or they're in new relationships, or they're gone, or we don't even know where they're at, or they've disappeared. But we can always look at our own emotions and our own feelings and consider, am I leaving this situation open without closing it down, without reaching a resolution about it and closing that chapter?
And here's what I think why people hang on to the past. Not because they think that love, unconsciously, they think that love was so great and they'll never find anything else. But unconsciously, it really is a way to stay in a safe zone and not open your heart again. So if you're pining over your ex, you're not going to go out and date, or no one you meet is going to match. And so it's basically a defense mechanism in a way for you to stay in the past and not progress in life. I also think too that a lot of people, and I don't know, not everyone, but some people feel that they're more comfortable as a victim than a hero.
Right.
And so the victim role of they left me and poor me, and that was me, you know, I'm not judging it because that was me, is that it felt like almost like a pain was so delicious. And I talk about this a lot, where I used to, when I was kind of not interested in anyone, I would pull up an old song and think about an ex just to feel something, you know, just wanted to feel a feeling.
Right.
And, but it really was like this kind of like more of a comfort being the victim and being the lovelorn than actually having the elation of having a true connection. And of course, this is unconscious. We don't choose this. But you ask yourself, am I more comfortable feeling this despair over this lost love than I am allowing someone new to come in? And so just check in with that. What would it be like to let go? And why don't we let go? Why don't we just say goodbye? And I think we think that we're going to lose that feeling. It's like, I've only felt it with that person, and it's like this magical feeling. And if I let him go or her go, that feeling's going to go away too, and I'll never be able to recapture it. So we're kind of addicted to a feeling more than anything else. And
it's actually the opposite. When we do let go and we come to terms with it, now we can recreate that feeling in reality. Instead of it just in memory and looking backwards, we can move forward and recreate it because our heart is open now. We're able to, we've made space, we've made room for a new experience. So there's a beautiful quote by one of the Swamis that we follow, and it says something like this. It says, "Love is a consistent passion to give, not a meek, persistent hope to receive."
That's beautiful. Say it again.
Love is a consistent passion to give, not a meek, persistent hope to receive. Meaning, if we put this person ahead of us, right, we want their happiness, even if it's not with us. We wish them the best. We come to terms with the fact that they need to move on, they need to find their happiness, and we're okay with that.
And that means we'll find happiness too, just because they found it with someone else. That should give us hope that we can find it with someone as well. You know, I want to mention though that I think people will misunderstand that quote as feeling that they have to be a doormat, where it's not okay to receive, or it's not okay. You have to give in love and not receive. We're not talking about basically being a servant to the other person. What we're giving up is the attachment that they need to give us anything. We're coming to a relationship feeling whole, that we're overflowing with love, that we don't need, like we're not starving for it, and that's starving to receive. I think that's the difference. It's not that we want to just be a doormat and just give and not receive. We want to come from a place where we're just giving because there's so much.
Right. And we're not saying it's easy. I've worked with a lot of individuals on closure. I know it is often the hardest thing to do. But it is worth it, because you will get your life back. You will get the opportunity to move on, create new, beautiful relationships for yourself, instead of pining about the past and staying focused on looking backwards. So it is a process, but it begins with, again, by reflecting on where am I as far as my past experiences. Am I still holding on to resentment? Am I still holding on to wishing I could go back to my ex, hoping they'll, come and knock on my door one day? All those things you need to consider and look at them with a sober mind and say, I'm holding on to these things, and they're still in there in the mind, and not judging that, because I remember the mind is set up for that kind of stuff. It's designed to hold on to powerful emotions and experiences and replay them over and over again. But it's also designed to move forward, to create new situations for ourselves.
And it's a choice. We could put our hand on the hot stove and complain that the heat is burning our hand, or we can remove our hand. We always have that choice. And I think a lot of times we think that the emotion is choosing for us, that I can't help, we hear this, I can't help the way I feel. I can't get rid of this pain. You have to realize that you are choosing to activate it. Like your mind is creating it. There's no one externally creating it. Your mind is creating the scenario and the emotions that are spinning within you. No one can make you feel anything that you don't want to feel. So you have to choose, do I choose to feel this anymore? How is this benefiting me?
Yeah. Yeah, so I work with somebody who they had held on to one of their early powerful relationships for over 10 years, I think. Over 10 years, wow. Can you imagine? And some people hold on to it all their lives. I mean, 10 years is relatively small, but, 10 years is still a big chunk of your life. And during those 10 years, he could not really let anybody else in because there was that attachment to that past relationship. Finally, he got up the courage to look her up and speak to her and to kind of see where things were at. And he realized a lot of that stuff that he was holding on to was all in his memory. She had moved on. She was somebody else. She had evolved, grown into another person, another way of being, had created a family and all these things. And the mismatch between his memory of what he was holding on to and this new reality, this person in front of him, made him realize, I'm holding on to something that doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's in my mind. It's a memory. And a lot of us do those kind of things, maybe not for 10 years, but for months or years. So it's important to consider all those things. Now,
that people do change. We remember them, and we think they're fixed. It's funny. That's just kind of a deep story, but it reminds me of a Friends episode where Monica ran into a high school, like the hunky guy from high school, and she was overweight in high school, so and then she got to date the hot guy, the popular guy, and then she went out with him, and she's like, oh my God, like he's still in high school mentally, and it was such a disappointment because in her mind he was when you're 18, they could be the star football player and so great and all these things, and they've changed. So they may have gone. You may have outgrown them as well. So you don't know as time passes who those people are anymore, except in your mind.
Right. And I know some of you are saying, well, I have to deal with my ex all the time because the kids or we're divorced and all these things. And certainly some of those can get complicated, but you still can reach your own closure, because remember, we cannot control other people and what they do and how they experience those relationships, but we can always work with our own mind and come to some resolution in our own way. Rituals are very powerful as well, meaning you go through, you make some time to let go of those things and maybe go back to the places that were meaningful to you and say goodbye. Let the past.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
And it feels very freeing when you do that.
Yeah.
I know sometimes it just takes running into them again after not seeing them, and you're like, I can't believe I was so hung up on that person, just like, but, and then other times it's you run into them and they're better than you remember, and you're like, why didn't it work out? So you have to trust that we fit together. Like, you want to be with someone who wants to be with you, and you want to be with someone you want a healthy relationship. So there's a reason why you're not together anymore. And I remember in my book I wrote in the beginning, I dedicate this book to all the men who broke my heart because they led me to Rob. Thank God they broke my heart, because I would have been stuck with them. And I had this wonderful man in my future coming. You don't know what's in your future. So you have to hold the vision of what you really want in love and trust that letting go of that old past, the old you that was involved in that old relationship, is no longer going to run your life anymore, and you're going to step into becoming a more evolved person and into possibility for what you really want.
Yes, deep, beautiful topic, and we definitely have to talk more about it.
But in the meantime, we hope to see you on Creative Love Community. We have hope to see you at our event. Let us know if you want to attend. We have tickets on sale right now. And some great courses. So if you want to go deeper with us, we have some great courses. Test us out right now with a free video course, attractgreatlove.com. Just go to that and sign up. It's absolutely free. I'll take you through a process of how you're attracting people based on physical attraction and a visualization. So don't miss out on that. And we'll see you on the next episode. Everyone, take care and say goodbye to the ex.
See you soon. Much love.
Bye-bye. You've been listening to Creative Love Radio with Debbie and Dr. Rob. For more information, visit us on our website at creativelove.com.